Hey everyone, happy whatever it is, Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, if you saw the thumbnail and you see what I'm pointing the camera at right now, you know we have another new project. I've been kind of mentioning this one, I think, over the past, a couple weeks or so. So this one came down from, Stockton area. And pretty cool story with this one. So this bus was originally bought by the gentleman I'm working with by his dad. I think it was before the guy I'm working with directly, before he was born, I think. So it sounds like his family, including his sister and his parents, went on kind of maybe like a long vacation in Europe. And so the dad, who's still around, he bought this Volkswagen bus, I believe brand new over there, for them to have something to drive around in while they were vacationing around Europe. And apparently he liked it so much that he went ahead and imported it back to the United States when they came back. I think the plan originally was just to use it for, I'm not sure what the time period was, but whatever time they were over there, and then, sell it back or sell it or whatever. But he really loved it. The family just fell in love with the thing. And apparently it was his daily driver for, like 30 years or something. He was, it sounds like he was a school teacher, and all the kids, that he taught come to know this bus. It sounds like it was real part of kind of the local, community in some ways. And so the guy I'm working with, tons of memories in this thing. Sounds like they used it a lot in addition to, sort of daily driving duty, lots of camping trips. And the guy, again, that I'm working with has got kind of a funny story that when he was little, I guess he slept back there when they went on camping trips and stuff like that. So just tons and tons of memories. And apparently when the guy that was going to haul it down came to get the car and was loading it onto the trailer, the neighbor, some lady, came out and just like started losing it on this poor guy because she thought that they were selling the bus, and she was very upset. So people really love this bus up there at least in that neighborhood, that area. And then the tow truck driver explained that no, this thing is going for a full restoration. And so that's where we come in. This thing is in for a full restoration, and it's a good candidate. I mean, it's got some issues, like, pretty much most all of them do. You can see where there's been some body work done here. I'll show this in more detail when the lighting is better. But overall pretty straight, pretty dry as far as being rust free. It's pretty complete. It is a sunroof model, so you can see the massive sunroof there on it. And the dash. Let's see if I can open this. I think it's unlocked. The dash is, everything's dirty, of course, but, the dash is actually in really good shape. And again, it's complete as far as having pretty much everything's here. Of course, a lot of this will get replaced, but, and I believe we are, at least based on our text messages back and forth, we're going to put a big motor in it. Probably similar to what's going in the bay window truck, like a 2110, kind of like a bus motor, more torquey than horsepowery motor to help scoot this thing along. He says he doesn't want to get passed by 18-wheelers going on the Grapevine, and can't blame him for that. So we'll build him a bitchin' motor that's going to make this thing really scoot. And so first thing will be is to tear it apart and kind of bag and tag everything, and then it'll basically start in body work from there, and then we'll start looking at rebuilding engine and transmission, or probably just build a whole new motor from scratch. Especially we haven't had great luck with used engine cases lately, so kind of a little bit leery about those. But one way or another, we'll get all the mechanical stuff going, probably in parallel with paint and body. Tear the upholstery off the seats and get those out for powder coating and stuff. One kind of interesting thing about the bus is it's been sitting for some time, and I don't know how long, with no rear hatch. The rear hatch is in there, and you can see it's kind of folded up. So I don't know the whole story, but apparently the dad somehow backed into something, and I don't know if he backed into something maybe with the hatch open, but apparently it pretty much tore the hatch clean off the hinges. So it sounds to me like he hit something when it was open. Don't know for sure, but we're going to be on the lookout for a new hatch, because I don't think that one is going to be worth trying to save. It's folded up like a taco. But anyway, yeah, this is the new project. I don't know if I mentioned it's a 69, so it's an early bay window, so they're a bit different, of course, than later bay windows. So it still has a Type 1 motor, so an upright motor, which we like. I don't really know too much about pancake motors. I like to kind of stick to Type 1 motors. So yeah, early bay windows, still a Type 1 motor. And there you go. So that's a second project to come in less than a week here. So we're having a good time. We're excited about the new projects. And so there you go. Let's head inside and see what happened indoors today. So Mr. Rafa was working still on the blue buggy, and the dash is actually bolted in now. So his awesome, for those of you that have been following, he pretty much like completely took apart the piece of junk dash support that Myers makes, that's just completely unusable. It's not just that it wasn't up to our standards, it was literally unusable. So check the recent videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. You'll see where Rafa pretty much chopped the thing up and put it back together and added pieces and made it fairly awesome, I must say. But anyway, so the dash and that brace are all in there for good now. The next thing he's working on is he's pretty much making a clamp that will attach to the dash frame, and then also like clamp the steering column to hold it in place. Otherwise, it's just kind of flopping around in there. And the provisions that came with that crappy dash support there, just I don't know how that thing's even supposed to be used. It wouldn't have even, I don't know, totally useless. So yeah, he's basically like making a big clamp that'll hold the column. So that was pretty much his day. He worked about half a day today because he had some other matters to attend to in the afternoon. But yeah, he got that on, so that's kind of exciting. So in the not too distant future, one of the next big things on this buggy will actually be the windshield to go on once this is squared away here. So that's actually a really big step. So that's that one. I did manage to work on the 23 window here some more today. And basically, Rafa and I started the day we took a skylight window and one of the seals that the owner provided. And we didn't install it all the way, but we kind of went around and like test fit it in each and every skylight window. And these two right here, the front two on the passenger side, felt great. It felt like it was, going down all the way. We actually, on this one, we even like pulled the string around a ways and got it partially installed and then carefully popped it back out. This one felt really great. These two were kind of tight to the point where we thought it was going to need some trimming. Likewise, this one felt really good. And then the other three, in fact, you can see my tape marking which ones seemed tight. So these three were also tight. So I spent a few hours today going and very carefully like grinding this lip and taking it down in areas where it was too thick. Because a lot of time that's part of the issue. The other part of the issue potentially with a roof, and I think his roof, or at least sections of it, have been replaced, is sometimes this actual like opening here is tight. And there's nothing we can really do about that other than make it so that it can go around the lip more easily. But when the actual kind of outer part of the opening is tight, which it seems to be on a lot of aftermarket roofs or roof sections, not a lot we can do. So, but anyway, Rafa is actually going to come in for half a day tomorrow, Thursday. And in the morning, we're actually going to probably try and install all the windows. Just to like know 100% that they're gonna fit, or you know, if I got to go back and trim a little more here and there, that's fine. But these are all things that we want to figure out now before the beautiful headliner goes in, because I don't want to be grinding on these window openings when there's a headliner in there. Done that before and it's terrible, so want to avoid that. Other than that, back on this one today, and I'll start kind of with the end and then I'll work my way back. So I did eventually get this started and running, and then I did the 20-minute cam break-in on it. So that's actually a pretty big step, and it sounds really good, really smooth, and so on. But to get there wasn't that straightforward. So those of you that follow routinely know that I had some issues with this carburetor. And so it turns out the guy who I never mentioned that I thought it was from, it wasn't from him. So the owner bought it from some other random guy off eBay, and I don't remember his name, and I probably wouldn't say it anyway. But so it didn't come from the guy that rebuilt the fuel pump and did the coil. So again, I never mentioned his name, so no harm done. But it turns out that the owner went back through his records, and the carburetor come from some guy off eBay. And I don't want to like flat out call this guy a crook, but I didn't see the ad, but it seems like he misrepresented this carburetor, because he never bench tested it. And so remember, if you're regulars around here, you know that I struggled to get the accelerator pump jet circuit unclogged to even get that to, you know, squirt when you do the throttle. The thing I found today, which was unbelievable and causing all kinds of issues, was this. So the needle and seat valve in there was like ancient. And when it's installed, this is kind of what you see. And I was like, okay, well, he installed what looked like probably an original one that looked, you know, pretty clean. And I kind of blew through it to the extent that I could with it and installed. And it felt like it was opening and closing. But what was happening was the carburetor kept flooding. And I cut down the fuel pump rod to get the pressure down. And it was still flooding. So I'm like, okay, obviously, despite my sort of tests, this was not sealing. So I threw a new one in, boom, problem went away. And so, yeah, but when I pulled this thing out, I mean, this is what I found. So this guy on eBay who's selling these carburetors that are, I guess, supposedly rebuilt and cosmetically beautiful, I mean, this is the kind of parts he's putting in them. It's unbelievable to me. Not only is this not closing all the way, it's very restrictive if you're like blowing through it. And what happened was I trimmed down the push rod for the fuel pump and got the fuel pressure down to about 3. And again, it was still flooding. When I put in the new needle and seat valve, the pressure went down to like 1 or half. And so what I figured out later was this was so restrictive that that's what was making the fuel pressure, or at least in part what was making the fuel pressure so high. So this thing, not only does it not close when it's open, it's super restrictive. But, you know, unfortunately for the owner of the car, it took me a while to troubleshoot all that because it was acting pretty weird. But there you go. So buyer beware, buying stuff off eBay from, you know, random people who say they rebuild or restore things. But anyway, at the end here, I worked my own magic on it and got it running good and did the cam break-in. So yeah, this thing is getting closer. Lastly, so a pretty productive day in the shop here. Lastly, got back to this guy here briefly. His bitchin' seat trab, or I guess maybe they're called Sousa now, I don't know. Anyway, the oil cooler came in. It's a very compact bitchin' oil cooler, and so started playing around with where I'm going to mount that up underneath the body. And I designed the rails that I'm going to mount it with, and so I'll probably use my little bandsaw tonight and cut up the metal, and then when I come in tomorrow, I'll weld those up and get this thing mounted. And then I can figure out the fittings that I need and how much hose, and get that plumbing all worked out. And supposedly later this week, the rest of the air conditioner system is going to ship. So yeah, this thing is going to come along pretty good here pretty soon. We're starting to get lots of ducks lined up. Only other thing was not us, but our friend and neighbor Octavio. He fixed pretty much all the seat frames for this 23 window, with the exception of the short middle seat. This frame was actually okay from what I remember, but literally like every other piece needed springs repaired or fixed, and straightening, and little tabs welded on that were, you know, broken off or missing, and these things were pretty rough. So Octavio spent probably over half a day on these things and got them to where they're awesome. And so next thing with these will be to send them off for blasting and powder coating. So there you go. Anyway, pretty productive day in the shop. So Jacob didn't make it in today. He had something come up, but I think he's coming in tomorrow. Rafa will be in half a day tomorrow. So kind of a long episode today, but lots happening, especially the new bay window project coming in. Very excited to get started on that. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye.